as we talk about these myths in this series, Exploring Evangelism Myths, we want to, say there are some aspects of the myth that are true, and then we want to address the problem. So first of all, what's true about this myth? Well, first of all, pastors usually do have specialized training. Like Ben said, they go to seminary. Doesn't mean they've been trained in evangelism, but pastors usually have specialized training, but they're meant to train their people, not do the work for the people. And I think this is so critical because so often we think, of course, I'm going to show up for church. I will sing the songs. I will give my tithe. But why are we saying that then the pastor should be doing the evangelizing for us? If we're taking responsibility for all these other aspects of our Christian life, why would we then just relegate evangelism to the pastor?
Well, you've touched on a really important point there, Lizzie, and maybe it actually reveals to us that we have a deficient understanding of evangelism, because we kind of have a good understanding of our way of giving to the church and our worship and all these different things that you've just mentioned. And our personal responsibility towards those things is generally, we're not perfect, but generally I think we're quite healthy in some of those things. But our understanding and application of evangelism, I think, is really unhealthy, and we're passing the buck. And just like you said, yep, they've got the training, let them do it. There is truth to the fact that there's training, but I love what you're saying. What about if they took that training and passed it on and passed it on and passed it on? And I guess it's like being a parent. I mean, I'm not a parent, but all my friends who are would say the same thing. You actually want to teach your kids to eventually become self-sufficient. And if you never pass on to them what they need to learn, then they're always going to be, you're never going to get rid of them. They're going to be in your house forever. They're never going to go.
That's another problem.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So you teach them to be self-sufficient.
And it's interesting because, like I said, we talk to a lot of pastors through, both of our work. And in our own city of Portland, Oregon, about a decade ago, there was one of the really key pastors who rallies a lot of pastors in the city together. He said, we need training how to share the gospel, especially before an Easter gathering, because they knew a lot of people who don't come to church are going to be at church on Easter. And he said, we want to make sure that we are stewarding this moment well. Great, right? So they invite Luis Palau in. There are about 30 to 40 pastors. And Luis teaches these seasoned pastors how to present the gospel and provide an opportunity for people to commit their lives to Christ. Like, great. Is this not Pastor 101? Or, but they were humble enough to say, we need help in this. And 10 years later, they are still speaking about how effective that training was. And so I think we need to also, those of us who aren't pastors, recognize pastors struggle with this. Pastors are wrestling how to do this well. And I think that is just a great story to start kind of unraveling this myth that pastors are the best at evangelists.
Yeah, and we're putting really unfair burdens on our pastors a lot of the time. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast. We want to equip the whole body, but we want to equip pastors as well and encourage you guys and gals out there and say, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And don't let the pressures of daily ministry life become so burdensome that you lose your joy. And one of the ways that the joy can be lost and pressures can squeeze you into being something that God actually doesn't intend for you to be is to take on all of these roles and responsibilities that are supposed to be more evenly shared across the body, Yes, absolutely. And we did 50 interviews with senior pastors last year, again, in Portland, Oregon, on the West Coast of the United States. And evangelism kind of came up as one of those things that's, it's like, we know we need to do this. We know it's important, but it feels like another thing we need to do. And like you said, Ben, it shouldn't be solely on the pastor's shoulders. Evangelizing is for everyone who calls himself a believer.